His Holiness Bhakti Rasayana Sagar Swami is a Gaudiya Vaishnava sannyasi in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And Maharaj is a disciple of His Holiness Indradumna Swami, who's a disciple of ISKCON founder Acharya A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And Maharaj joined ISKCON in Moscow, Russia. And Maharaj speaks English and Russian very, very fluently. And he's a friend of our Toronto congregation and the centers here. Maharaj, whenever he's here in the greater Toronto area, he visits all the centers here. And Maharaj, there are many more centers that are sprouting up here as well. So as COVID situation is getting better and better as day goes by, so we are hoping and praying we can have your association very soon in the greater Toronto area. So with that, we again sincerely welcome you to our Sunday Feast program, and over to you, Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, bro. So again, my apologies for the delay, because I've been giving offline class at Moscow Temple, and so we got too many questions, so it was pretty hard to get away very easily from devotees. And so we will read a little bit from Bhagavad Gita, and we'll say a few words about application of Krishna consciousness in our modern world. And we'll start in a traditional way by offering our respects to Hari Guru and Vaishnavas. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Sudapaya Chakshurun Militam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutare Swayam Rupakaram Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Uday Mahat Prema Puro Vibhur Nirmaya Kshatiyada Musha Purusha Bhumte Gunan Sadasa Sadasatmaka Gilang Krishista Bhagavan Vacham Sume. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we will read from the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation purported by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON and BBT. And this is Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, Transcendental Knowledge, text number 10. Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha Manmayama Upashita Bhavo Gyanata Pasa Putama Bhavamagataha. Translation: being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. Purport: as described above, it is very difficult for a person who is too materially affected to understand the personal nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Generally, people who are attached to the bodily conception of life are so absorbed in materialism that it is almost impossible for them to understand how the Supreme can be a person. Such materialists cannot even imagine that there is a transcendental body, which is imperishable, full of knowledge, and eternally blissful. In a materialistic concept, the body is perishable, full of ignorance, and completely miserable. Therefore, people in general keep the same bodily idea in mind when they are informed of the personal form of the Lord. For such materialistic men, the form of the gigantic material manifestation is supreme. Consequently, they consider the Supreme to be impersonal. And because they are too materially absorbed, the conception of retaining the personality after liberation from matter frightens them. When they are informed that spiritual life is also individual and personal, they become afraid of becoming persons again, and so they naturally prefer a kind of merging into the impersonal void. Generally, they compare the living entities to the bubbles of the ocean, which merge into the ocean. That is the highest perfection of spiritual existence, attainable without individual personality. This is a kind of fearful stage of life devoid of perfect knowledge of spiritual existence. Furthermore, there are many persons who cannot understand spiritual existence at all, being embarrassed by so many theories and by contradictions of various types of philosophical speculation. They become disgusted or angry and foolishly conclude that there is no supreme cause and that everything is ultimately void. Such people are in a diseased condition of life. Some people are too materially attached and therefore do not give attention to spiritual life. Some of them want to merge into the supreme spiritual cause, and some of them disbelieve in everything, being angry at all sorts of spiritual speculation out of hopelessness. This last class of men take to the shelter of some kind of intoxication, and their affective hallucinations are sometimes accepted as spiritual vision. One has to get rid of all three stages of attachment to the material world: negligence of spiritual life, fear of a spiritual personal identity, and the conception of void that arises from frustration in life. To get free from these three stages of the material concept of life, one has to take complete shelter of the Lord, guided by the bona fide spiritual master, and follow these disciplines and regular principles of devotional life. The last stage of the devotional life is called bhava, or transcendental love of Godhead. According to Bhakti Rasayana Sagar 1:4, 15 and 16, the science of devotional service. Adaushada tata sadhu sangatha bhajana kriya tato nartha nivrittisya tato nishta ruchistata atha shaktir tato bhavastata premabhya danchati sadakanam ayam premna pradur bhave bhavet krama. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire for self-realization. This will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with persons who are spiritually elevated. In the next stage, one becomes initiated by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, the neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. By execution of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment, attains steadiness and self-realizations, acquires a taste for hearing about the absolute personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. This taste leads one further forward to attachment for Krishna consciousness, which is matured in bhava, or the preliminary stage of transcendental love of God. Real love for God is called prema, the highest perfectional stage of life. In the prema stage, there is a constant engagement in the transcendental, loving service of the Lord. So by the slow process of devotional service, under the guidance of the bona fide spiritual master, one can attain the highest stage, being freed from all material attachment, from the fearfulness of one's individual spiritual personality, and from the frustration that results in void philosophy. Then one can ultimately attain to the abode of the Supreme Lord. End of the purport. Hare Krishna. So we'll read the text one more time. Vitaraga bhaya krodha manmaya mamupashita bahavo jnana tapasa putamadbhavam agataha. Being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So this is our inspiration in Krishna consciousness, that we are not the first ones to try this process, and definitely not the last ones to follow this process, because we see that so many amazing examples of devotees who have attained wonderful results by practicing Krishna consciousness, and also we are getting wonderful results as well. We may not attain the topmost result immediately, which is described in this purport as prema, bhakti, topmost love of God, but on every step of the way, we are getting wonderful results, even though we cannot claim that we have love of God yet, but we understand that God loves us. And there are so many things which serve as a proof of that, that I'm pretty sure if I ask devotees to raise their hands and confirm that they feel Krishna's support, they feel Krishna's protection in their lives, they have experienced how Krishna gives intelligence, and in so many ways we can see Krishna's hand in our lives, even though we may not see Krishna's face yet, unless it's on the painting, as I'm looking at the painting in front of me. Wonderful painting of Krishna Shyamasundar playing the flute, standing on the banks of Yamuna, surrounded by peacocks. So, or the deity, we can also see the face of the deity, but seeing Krishna face to face in person and conversing with Krishna and interacting with Krishna, we may not achieve that level yet, so we cannot claim necessarily that we see Krishna's face. But I'm pretty sure that we can say that we have seen Krishna's hand in our lives. It manifests in so many ways. And so, because we can see Krishna's interaction with us, and we can understand that it is Krishna who is maintaining us, who is protecting us, and who is taking care of us. In so many ways, Krishna is giving us everything. Krishna is giving us land, Canada, wonderful land, full of so many lakes. They say that the water shortage will be the greatest disaster on earth, and the world wars will be fought over shortage of water wars. But Canada is spared from this destiny because Canada has almost unlimited water supply. So Krishna's wealth is unlimited and he's sharing it with us. So he's giving us wonderful land to live. He's giving us wonderful water to drink. He's giving us pure air to breathe. Of course, we are very quick to contaminate this air with the factory fumes, and we are very quick to contaminate the water with different types of pollutants, etc. But Krishna is giving us everything. And he's giving us everything, and he's taking care of us our whole life. And naturally, what is devotional service? Devotional service is understanding that Krishna is serving me unconditionally and without any interruption. We might sleep at night, but Paramatma never sleeps. Paramatma is always looking after us. And devotional service is just an attempt to pay something back. Do something for the wonderful Krishna who gave us, well, human life is very rare attainment. Kaumaram acharet pragyo dharma bhagavataiha durlabham manusha janma api adruvam arthanam. As Prahlad Maharaj says that one should study spiritual subjects from the very early age, ideally from 5 years of age. Of course, most of us were not that fortunate to study Krishna consciousness from early childhood, but ideally this is what should be happening in our lives. Why? Because this is the most important science we can learn. Bhagavat Dharma, Dharmam Bhagavata Iha. How do we say that Krishna consciousness is science? We might think, to me, it looks more like a religion. But no, so Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is not another religion, it's a spiritual science. Because in science, and those of you who still remember the school teachings, what you've learned in your school, the scientific process has 3 distinct stages. The first stage is called theory, second stage is called experiment, and third stage is called result. Theory, experiment, result. These are the 3 stages of any scientific process. Without theory or without experiment, you cannot get any result, and so you cannot call it science. And what are the 3 stages of our spiritual development? In Sanskrit, they are defined as Sambandha, Abhidaya, and Prayojana, which is theoretical understanding of who is God, who is myself, and what are our relationships. Yes, we are talking about the scientific process of Krishna consciousness. So the first stage, described in so many Prabhupada's books, is theory, theoretical understanding of Krishna consciousness. Then, next stage, theory means Sambandha. Next stage is Abhidaya, practice of Krishna consciousness. And what is the practice? That is Nava Vida Bhakti, 9 types of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Padasevanam. So this is hearing about Krishna and glorifying Krishna, remembering Krishna, serving Krishna, worshipping Krishna, offering our prayers to Krishna, becoming Krishna's servant, friend, and full surrender unto Krishna. So these are the 9 types of devotional service, and that is the practice of Krishna consciousness. And what is the result? As we were mentioning, the topmost result, of course, is developing pure love of God, but the immediate result, there are so many immediate results. First immediate result is cessation of misery, kleshagni. Then second result is shubhada, auspiciousness. And then the third result is Sandrananda Visheshatma, that we feel very, very happy, blissful, and joyful. And fourth result is Moksha Lagutakrit, that Krishna consciousness is so wonderful that devotees are not even aspiring for liberation from material world. And the fifth result, these are the very high levels, but we have to mention is Durlabha, Sudurlabha. Krishna consciousness of this level is very, very rare. And the topmost level of Krishna consciousness is Krishna Karshini, which is that Krishna consciousness is so amazing that it attracts even Krishna. And so we are getting many wonderful results. And this is how we know that the process is working. And yeah, this is one of Krishna's gifts, human form of life. That's why Prahlad Maharaj says, Durlabham Manusham Janma, that to get human birth is very rare. Api Adruvam, even though it is also temporary, Arthadam, but it gives greatest artha, it gives greatest wealth, our relationship with Krishna. People striving for so many things. They want fame, they want power, they want wealth, money, they want beauty, they want knowledge, some they want renunciation, but it is Krishna who is the source of all this. And therefore, if you have Krishna, you have everything. And you don't have to worry about anything. That's why devotees, they don't have any material desires. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ataiva Shanta. Mukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Sakalaya Shanta. Chaitanya Charitamrita says that because devotees don't have any material desires, therefore they are always peaceful. And because materialistic people, those who are striving for either sense gratification or liberation, they are never peaceful. And so, yeah, this is the greatest benefit. This is the greatest wealth. That's why one of the ancient Vaishnavas, and his name was Sri Bhavananda. We don't know much about this devotee, but the verse he wrote appears in Srila Rupa Goswami's Padyavali, and he says very interesting thing. He says, Vichayani, Vicharyani, Vichintyani Punapuna, Kripanasya Dananaiva, Vannamani Bhavantuna. Vichayani means to be collected, Vicharyani to be counted, and Vichintyani to become the object of thoughts. And so this devotee, he says, oh Lord, just as a miser continually collects, counts, and remembers his money, in the same way, let us continually collect, count, and remember your holy names. So, what is our greatest wealth? That this treasure is located in this bag. And these are beads which are used for chanting Krishna's names. And so we are collecting, we are counting, and we are constantly thinking of Krishna while we are chanting his holy name. And this is the greatest wealth. That's why Sri Bhavananda compares collecting holy names with collecting money for materialistic people. And the secret of success in Krishna consciousness is described also by Srila Rupa Goswami, since we mentioned Padyavali. This is another very wonderful verse from Padyavali, which is actually the key verse from which the name of our society is derived, Krishna consciousness. Krishna Bhakti Rasa Bhavitamati Kriyatam Yadi Kutopi Lapyate Tatra Lolyamagpi Mulyamekalam Janmakoti Supritai Janapite. It says that the love of Krishna, or opportunity to develop loving relationship with the Supreme Lord, is the topmost achievement, which is so valuable that if we have the opportunity to gain that, we should never hesitate to pay any price. And what is the price? Tatra lolyam api mulyam ekalam. There is only one price, and that is very intense desire, which is actually translated as greed, lolyam. Why? Because janmakoti sukrita nalabhyate, because even thousands of pious lives, they will never give that kind of result, opportunity to become Krishna conscious. So we should be very eager, we should be very greedy for chanting the holy name, associating with devotees, hearing about Krishna, discussing about Krishna. Of course, prasadam, we should be a little bit careful. Otherwise, if we are too greedy about prasadam, if I'm too greedy about prasadam, then I have a risk that my face will not fit into the screen and you will not be able to see full picture of me, right? So we have to be a little bit careful. Otherwise, it will be hard to find dhoti of matching size for ourselves. So, but everything else, we have to be very greedy, because that is the topmost wealth. And that's why when Lord Chaitanya was asking Ramananda Rai, who is the real capitalist? Who is the real wealthy man? Ramananda Rai said, real capitalist is one who has love of God. You might ask, what about money? No, it will come. Automatically, you don't even have to worry. You can see Srila Prabhupada's example. Srila Prabhupada was sacrificing everything for the sake of his spiritual master, dedicating his life to his mission. And he gave up business pursuit, which he was following for many, many decades, actually, 4 decades, couple of decades. He was working very hard, maybe even 3 decades. Yeah, anyway, long time, many years. But then couldn't achieve much success. But then when he fully dedicated himself to follow the order of his guru, spreading Krishna consciousness, Krishna sent him so much wealth, unlimited. Someone calculated, I don't know how accurate it is, but probably it's about right, that about $3 billion US dollars total capital Prabhupada acquired in 11 years. Not bad result. So if someone has Krishna consciousness, everything else is included in the package. We don't have to worry about anything material. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much for your wonderful association. And let us see if we have any questions or comments or suggestions, complaints, we'll be happy to discuss with the devotees.
Thank you.
Some sense.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. How can we have any complaints? We are so grateful always to you for giving us this Krishna consciousness, talk to us. It's really inspiring and we really mean it. And today you picked a beautiful verse from Bhagavad Gita and the need for intense greed as well. This beautiful verse, Krishna Bhakti Rasayana Sagar. Thank you, Maharaj, for that. And just so that devotees also know, so the greed should be as part of what we are doing as part of our devotional service, but it can't be, where they sort of nicely fight for doing some service with other devotees. That's not the greed. The greed.
Very good. Good point.
Thank you, Maharaj. And just one other thing I just wanted to comment, as devotees are gearing up to ask some questions, so which will benefit all of us. You mentioned about Krishna's hand in our life. We may not see his face. I just realized that, slightly digressing, this tennis player who won the Wimbledon, who's number one in the world and 85 titles. And, there's a picture of him in his house and he's got Lord Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, Novak Djokovic. He's from Serbia. So Krishna's hand is there, 85 titles there. And he's got Krishna's picture in his house. So it's inspiring for all of us as well, that Krishna is doing things in the background for those everyone else as well.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, I've seen that picture recently and it's really very good, very inspiring. Yes, so many people coming to Krishna. And lately I came across very interesting another evidence of Krishna consciousness and Vedic culture existing on our planet for forever, as Bhagavatam describes. And let me see if any of you knows. That is the little quiz for you, since as we're waiting for your questions, I have one question for you. Anybody knows what was the very first object of religious worship on planet Earth, according to the modern science, according to the modern archaeological and historical evidence? So, anyone knows the answer to this question?
Can you repeat the question again, Maharaj?
The very first object of religious worship on planet Earth, what was that? Or who was that? Rather, we should say. Who was the first object or person, we can say, or worshipped through religious rituals?
Anybody? So I can start by guessing, Maharaj. Is it sun or sun god or Krishna in the form of sun? No.
No. No.
Other
Anyone
devotees?
else?
Vishnu.
Vishnu. Which form? Vishnu has many forms.
Four forms.
Huh?
Four forms.
All forms. No, there is one specific form. Okay, giving up.
Anyone? Other devotees? We have quite a few devotees. Mother
Krishna.
Srimati?
Mahavishnu, no.
Krishna.
Krishna. In which form?
Sham Sundar.
Not exactly. Not according to modern science.
Yeah, I was thinking Sham Sundar myself.
Okay. So no, it was another form.
The Gopa?
No.
Okay, I'm just guessing now.
Yeah.
Okay, one more guess, second guess, and we'll hand it over to you, Maharaj. Matsya, fish?
No.
Nrsimhadev.
Oh, who said Nrsimhadev?
Me.
Bhakti Vinod Das.
Bhakti Vinod. Yeah, that was the right guess, but I suppose it was guessed because you probably don't know all the information, right?
No, I saw a picture of him in the 14th century.
No,
I
14th
saw,
century.
yeah, 14th century. I saw a picture of him. So at that point in time, you know, it's a logical thing to say, well, like he was the first. So
Yeah,
that's
no,
why I mentioned his name.
14th century is
Yeah.
very recent.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so hold on to your seats and fasten your seat belt. It is German. This object of the first ever object of religious worship on planet Earth was found in Germany. And he is Lion Man. Lion Man from Germany, 40,000 years old.
Wow.
400 centuries. No, 400 centuries ago, he was worshipped. That is according to carbon dated analysis.
Oh.
400 centuries, 40,000 years ago.
So Maharaj, you mean to say that Varahadev is after that? Varahadev been worshipped, or?
Well, we don't exactly know, because that so far this was the discovery that the Lion Man was discovered and his age was confirmed as the very first sculpture on Earth historically, and he was very, very obviously was the object of religious rituals and religious worship, Lion Man.
And thank you, Maharaj, because I mean, this happened according to our scriptures in, say, Satya Yuga, so it's old, but still 40,000 is relatively newer, but recent. And then, as you mentioned, so in Germany, Maharaj, so how do we, like, what was that? What we understand is it was like one big continent, and you know, not, or was that Hinduism was one religion everywhere, including Germany?
Yes, that the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in itself is describing that there was Bharatvarsha, the whole planet was called Bharatvarsha, and I think this is 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where it's stated that after Maharaj Yudhishthir became the emperor of the whole planet, then his 4 brothers, they went to the 4 directions on the globe, and I will not exactly remember which direction which brother took, but I exactly remember that Arjuna went to north, and he actually brought Vedas and Vedic culture to the northern countries. That's why in Russian Vedas, Arjuna is mentioned as the father of Vedic culture and Vedic knowledge, like that. And so, yes, that the entire planet was called Bharatvarsha. But then later, due to the influence of Kali Yuga, due to the influence of the age of quarrel, different countries started separating. And we can see that this process is, you know very well that the recent history of India, that the countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Burma, and few other countries, Sri Lanka, used to be Lanka, also was used to be part of Bharatvarsha. So obvious that these were the same countries, right? That still there are so many Hindus. Pakistan, Bangladesh, so many countries adjoining India. They were part of India at some, quite recently. And so, you go a little bit further down the history timeline, and you can see that, as we know, India is called Hindustan, and you go north, you'll find so many other stans like Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, because stan in Sanskrit language means place, right?
Mhm.
So, so many stans are there. And then Russia, Srila Prabhupada was saying that this was the land of rishis, that rishis were going north. So after rishis, this country was called Russia, Russia, like that. And then you go south, southeast, you will find so many evidence of Vedic culture there. Southeast Asia, I mean,
Yeah.
still, even today, I don't know how many of you had opportunity to travel to Cambodia,
Yeah.
and you know about Angkor Wat.
Angkor Wat.
It's the biggest Vishnu temple on earth, 1,000 years old, biggest Vishnu temple complex. And so, you know, where is India, modern day India, and where is Cambodia? Thousands of miles apart. And Vishnu was worshipped there. And the king of that land, Cambodia land, his name was Surya Varman. That was his legal name, but then he had spiritual name. His spiritual name was Param Vishnu Loka Maharaj. And he was Tamil king. I mean, Tamil kings were ruling Cambodia. Can you imagine that? And so, so many evidence of Vedic culture in Southeast Asia. Just on the surface, you don't have to, you know, like strive really hard to find it. I mean, Indonesia, it's unbelievable that quite recently the president of Indonesia, his name is Joko Widodo. And when he was interviewed and the reporter was asking, Mr. President, who is your personal hero in life? And without a second of thought, he shot back, it is Krishna. And the guy is Muslim. And the reporter was shocked. He said, why Krishna? He said, because Krishna is our hero. Because we are the residents of Java Island, and this is the biggest island of Indonesia, right? Java. He said, for all of us, Krishna is very special. He's our greatest hero, historical hero. Because Krishna is most powerful man, most powerful person. He has great Shakti, and he has chakra, and he's killing so many demons, and he has great wisdom. He spoke Bhagavad Gita. And Joko Widodo is always carrying Bhagavad Gita, pocket Bhagavad Gita with him.
Wow.
So, and he said, everyone here respects Krishna because Krishna is our hero. So, and this is the biggest Muslim country on earth, Indonesia,
And
because it has nearly 280 something million people, and 80%, more than 80%, 83% Muslim population, I think, over 80% anyway. So it's biggest Muslim country on the planet, and fourth biggest country population-wise on earth. And it's amazing that they love Krishna.
And their airlines is Garuda Airlines.
Yeah, Garuda Airlines, so many things. I mean, go to Malaysia, Japan, and America, and Australia, and Africa, and South America, and you will find the traces of Vedic culture and Krishna consciousness everywhere on earth. As one devotee who is the professor in South African university. He said, I am teaching the course of ancient South African spiritual history, that the Supreme Lord of the entire African continent was always black boy playing flute. That's it.
Amazing.
So
Thank
many
you.
things are there. Yeah, you're welcome.
Beautiful, Maharaj. Very beautifully explained. Thank you, Maharaj. And maybe if we have time for a couple of more questions, will that be okay, Maharaj?
Please. Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so devotees will urge you to ask questions because this is a great opportunity for us to get the answers from Maharaj. So Maharaj, one more question. You mentioned beautifully about the ancient worship of Narasimhadev. So just for the benefit of all the devotees as well, we know Prahlad Maharaj, on the topic of Lord Narasimhadev, he did not seek for personal protection, for any protection from Lord Narasimhadev, but Lord Narasimhadev protected his devotees, as he says in the 4th chapter. But also Srila Prabhupada established Narasimhadev, Ugra Narasimhadev in Mayapur for protection. So, and also is it okay for us to ask for protection from worldly problems that devotees face? Will that interfere with our karma, or and also should we go to Narasimhadev and why not to Krishna for protection? Is there a way that we go to Narasimhadev and not to Krishna?
Yes. Well, yes, Srila Prabhupada instituted worshipping Nrsingadev because devotees are not very eager to get material protection, but because devotees are engaged in devotional service and they carry this responsibility, they need protection. But again, they are depending on the Lord for his will, like that. For example, when Srila Prabhupada was sick and devotees were asking, can we pray for you? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you can pray to Krishna. If you so desire, please help our spiritual master to become cured. So this is our mentality. We do pray for protection, but we depend on Krishna's will. If he wants to protect us or not. Because he is always protecting us. If Krishna wants us to go back to him, we are also happy. And if he protects us in this world, we're also happy.
That's beautiful, Maharaj, because this is an important aspect, because many devotees are getting impacted by COVID and other events, unfortunate events and diseases. So when we all chant and when we pray, and then some devotees get disappointed if something, if the devotee leaves the body. So that's beautiful, Maharaj. So the mood should be, Lord Krishna's will, if you desire. So that's a great, things for us to think through, Maharaj. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Yes, thank you.
So we have time for one more question. Anybody would like to get a question through to Maharaj? Any Matajis, Mother Dwaraka, Mother Srimati, anyone? Please, we can all learn from the answers and the questions that you're asking, please. Mother Srimati, if you can unmute yourself. Mother Dwaraka.
Prabhu, I'm sorry, I'm a bit emotional right now.
Yes.
Sorry. Maybe Maharaj can address something about that if you want to ask, please.
Yes. Maharaj.
How do we, well, maybe I can.
Please.
How do we deal with losing someone that's close to us? How do we pray?
Yeah.
Even though we have understanding of the scriptures, at times we find it difficult.
Yes. Yeah, it is natural. It is not something artificial, especially if someone who is close to us is a devotee. And as Ramananda Rai was explaining in conversation with Lord Chaitanya that the greatest misery is there if we become separated from devotee. And so if someone who is very close to us is a devotee, and then of course if we are separated, then we have the right to feel grief and lament. But of course, ultimately, we need to transcend that sorrow. Prabhupada explains by transcendental knowledge, and a couple of very beautiful examples are given in scriptures, and one example which is quite close home to us is Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was performing his nocturnal kirtans in the house of Srivas Thakur, and his son, one of the sons of Srivas Thakur, was sick, and it was terminal disease, and at the time of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's kirtan, this boy left his body. And of course, his mother and other relatives were lamenting, but Srivas Thakur was reluctant to distract Lord Chaitanya from his kirtan, so he kept quiet and he participated in the kirtan. But Lord Chaitanya, he felt that the mood in the house changed, and he felt that there is some kind of grief, atmosphere of grief prevailing in the house. And he asked Srivas Thakur what happened, and Srivas Thakur said, "Oh, nothing so special. My son just left his body." And Lord Chaitanya said, "But you never told me." And Srivas Thakur said, "Yeah, I didn't want to distract you from kirtan." And Lord Chaitanya said, "But this is such a serious event, so let's go to the room where your son's body is lying." And when they entered the room, and Lord Chaitanya came to the body of this boy, and he said, "Why did you leave your parents? And you caused so much grief to them. You should come back and tell us." And so by the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this boy was revived. And he opened his eyes, and he looked at Lord Chaitanya, and he looked at everyone else, and he said, "I am not this body. I'm pure spirit soul. And by your desire, I came here into the house of Srivas Thakur," which of course is the great fortune. "And I was very fortunate to be blessed by your association and opportunity to depart from this world in your presence. And so please allow me to go back home, back to the spiritual world." And then, of course, when everybody saw that and heard that, they became enlightened. And so this boy closed his eyes, and then the soul left to the original destination. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "You should not lament, Srivas Thakur, you lost one son, but you can have two sons instead. Myself and Nityananda will be your two sons." So like that, this is how our scriptures are explaining what is the way of overcoming grief or lamentation over the loss of a relative. Hare Krishna, I hope it's answering the question.
Oh, Maharaj, that was wonderful. That gives so much strength. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mother. Thank you, Maharaj, for that enlightening response. So, Maharaj, if it's okay, we can wrap it up with one last question, Maharaj. Is that okay?
Please, yes.
So this question Yeah, it came through another chat line. Lion man worshipped over 40,000 years before. And then it says, the question is, when Mughal emperors took over most of the country, so Mahabharata happened about 5,000 years ago, Pandavas spread Sanatan Dharma all over the earth, then did Mughal emperors take over everything after that?
Yes. Yeah, Muslims, they appeared less than 2,000 years ago, so it's quite recent. They're saying this is the youngest religion, youngest of the world's religion. So yeah, before that, it was Vedic culture all over the planet. Even before Maharaj Yudhishthira, we understand that Prithu Maharaj was ruling the whole planet. It was also Vedic culture. So Vedic culture is Sanatan. It was always there. And by the way, if someone wants to check more information on the Lion Man, because there are many, many peculiar details about him, please go to internet and, like, he is so famous, the Lion Man. He has Wikipedia pages in nearly all the languages of the world. And so you can just, type Lion Man and you will find all the information, very, very interesting information about him. Official scientific information. Okay, and it also says that there is a link between Nrsingadev in India and Lion Man in Germany. They recognize the link.
Beautiful, Maharaj. I think Mother Dwaraka is unmuted. She's the fearless president of ISKCON Scarborough. So I would like to ask if she's got a question, Mother Dwaraka.
No, Prabhu, I don't have a question, but I would like to thank Maharaj very much for giving us his association, and we are looking forward to see him in person as soon as COVID is over.
Yeah, we can't wait to have Maharaj again in the GTA area. We'll schedule Maharaj's classes all over GTA temples. And
yeah,
as we
so
mentioned,
many temples now. So Maharaj will have to rest.
Yeah, we'll keep you busy, Maharaj, when you come here.
Yes, Krishna consciousness is Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, always increasing ocean of bliss. So it's wonderful to know that, your mission is expanding at GTA.
Yeah. And some of us were fortunate again just to have a glimpse of Maharaj maybe 4 years ago in the Toronto Rath Yatra. Briefly, Maharaj used to come 2010, 11, 12.
Yeah, sure. We see Maharaj there.
Yeah, so
we're missing him for Rath Yatra.
Talk about Rath Yatra, Maharaj. Today is the second day of ISKCON Toronto's main temple's Rath Yatra. But again, it's drive-through. So Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra are coming to various other Hindu temples, and that's the epicenter of activities. And in a way, other Hindus are also having this opportunity to take the blessings from Jagannath, Baladev, and Subhadra Maharani.
Oh, wonderful. So you're out of the lockdown and it's pretty free for you, right?
Yes, Maharaj, as of this Friday, so a couple of days ago only. So this has been the longest lockdown in whole of North America in the Toronto area. But things are getting better, and that's why we are hopeful that things will turn around pretty quickly. So we can have wonderful devotees come to the greater Toronto area very soon.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you, Ananda Vardhan.
Thank you, Maharaj. On behalf of all the devotees, so we didn't want to give up on your association, Maharaj. So we hope you can give us some time, at least. I know you're most sought after in the Russia area as well as in other parts of the world. But we humbly request if you can just give us this 1 hour of association once every at least 2 months. We are being practical, Maharaj. I know you're busy. If you can give us, if this continues, right? So we hope not that the Zoom sessions will have to continue, but I mean, even if it continues, you'll not be able to come to this part of the world very often. So we can have that opportunity to associate with you more often through these Zoom sessions. So we kindly thank also the mother who coordinated this. I think her name is Maria. We're grateful to her for coordinating this, Maharaj. So again, on behalf of all the devotees, we sincerely thank you, Maharaj, and hope to have your session again. Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Right. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Thank you so much,
everyone.
Thank you,
Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada
Ki jai.
Jai Srila Prabhupada.